If you're old enough to remember the great debate between less filling and taste great, then you already know what a false dilemma is. I'm Chris, this is Fiercely Independent, and this week's Spot to Spin is all around the fallacy of the false dilemma. Now, as you recall, we talked about fallacies. Fallacies doesn't mean something's false. A fallacy means to deceive. And that's exactly why politicians use fallacies in all their arguments, or a lot of their arguments, is because they're trying to manipulate you. A couple of cases in point here. Just recently, there was a 2026 Speaker House Majority Survey from Mike Johnson. And the very first question was a false dilemma. It had to deal with the border. And basically, you're either supporting all the things that we're doing, or you're in favor of open borders. Clearly, that's a false dilemma. Easy to spot generally because it's an either-or proposition here. But there are some false dilemmas that are a little more hidden. And a good example of that would be about a week and a half or so ago. A guy named Scott Jennings was on CNN. It doesn't matter who Scott Jennings is. What matters was the conversation. And basically, one of the panelists was pushing back against the war in Iran. And Scott immediately jumped in. Well, you must be in favor of Iran having a nuclear bomb. Now, that's a false dilemma. It's not an either-or statement. In fact, it's implied. It's kind of hidden. It's one of those, you're in favor of the war or you're in favor of Iran having a nuclear bomb. And none of the guests or the panelists on CNN called this out, but it was clearly a false dilemma, something, again, to spot. These are the things to look for. Now, why does it matter? A false dilemma matters because it takes a very complicated issue and boils it down to usually extreme options, extreme choices. And that's not reality. But politicians love this because, well, one, it forces you to make a decision without really thinking. And secondly, for a politician, it's easier to sell fear than it is to sell nuance. Now, the reality is most serious issues are complicated. There's not a binary choice kind of answer to these things. There are trade-offs, there are costs, there are consequences to these things. So the next time a politician comes out and says, well, you're either in favor of this or you're against us, know that that's not democracy. That's salesmanship with a flag pin. I hope you have a great day. Stay fierce, stay independent. Talk to you soon.